game?
The only thing that matters is winning football games. And however it looks, like, people, I don't get it. Like, people get caught up in how winning looks. Like, winning is supposed to be our team versus their team, and we have more points than them when the clock is at 0. And if it's Jalen dropping back 75% of the time, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. If it's us running the ball 75%, that's what it takes, is what it takes. Like, obviously, you would love some type of balance. We all would love, to he have 200, he have 200, I have 200, blah, blah, blah. It's not the reality. It's not, this isn't Sims. This isn't Madden. This is real life. So whatever it looks like, that's the only thing that matters. Whatever it looks like to win the football game, that's what we're going to keep doing.
He's right. It's not Madden. It is real life. But Saquon Barkley looked like he was in a Madden game last season. I know that he is kind of annoyed with everyone talking about that 2,000-yard season. However, we've grown accustomed to seeing him run that rock. So, Chris, your reaction to what Saquon Barkley had to say?
Well, listen, the best offenses are always going to have balance. And I'm not saying that it's time for the Philadelphia Eagles to panic. I am raising an eyebrow, though, because this Eagles offense at its best is a run-first outfit, and they, quite frankly, just can't run the football. It's not a matter of teams just taking it away. They can't do it. Saquon Barkley hasn't rushed for over 100 yards in one game this season. There is no balance to speak of. They are 28th in rush offense. At some point, something about that has to change, because I'm not sure that week over week, this Eagles team, this Eagles offense can win the day by being a volume passing outfit, right? Jalen Hurts, his top 8 passing performances by way of yardage, the team is 4-4 in his career. So exactly 500. So I don't know that what they're doing now, how they're playing on the offensive side of the ball is sustainable, and they've got to figure out a way to be able to run the football, unlock Saquon Barkley, and get more production on that ground game.
Listen, here's the positive. Yesterday, he had a perfect passer rating, and I'm talking about Jalen Hurts in the game. He was phenomenal against the blitz. That's been one of the things. That's been one of his bugaboos, is that he hasn't been a guy that's responded well against the blitz. And we saw with Brian Flores, defensive coordinator of the Vikings, that's one of the things he does a lot. He brings pressure, and they dealt with it accordingly. But ultimately, when I look at the Philadelphia Eagles, I feel like if they want to get to Santa Clara, if they want to get to the Super Bowl, the running game aspect of their offense has to pick up. And I think there's a couple reasons why their running game is real deficient right now. Number one, their offensive line is nowhere near what it was last year. They're not getting the type of push that they were last year. That's number one. Number two, they're not running Jalen Hurts nowhere near as much as they did, last year or previous years. Cam, you know this as a dual threat guy yourself. When you have a quarterback that's able to run the ball, it changes the numbers game in the running game. You go from 10 to 11. It changes how defenses are able to defend you. And what we've seen from this Philadelphia Eagles offense, they don't run Jalen Hurts nowhere near as much. And so it affects the numbers game. They're able to stack up on Saquon Barkley. Hell, they're not even really stacking up on him because they can't get the necessary push up front to get Saquon Barkley going. And so until they remedy that, I think Philadelphia is always going to be one of these teams that we're going to look at like, they're talented, but are they a team that we really see that can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl?
Man, listen. And I know that there's a lot of people got their ears glued to what I'm about to say, and it's not going to. The thing about the Philadelphia Eagles that needs to be said is yesterday's display of offense should be a weekly thing. The fact that I constantly am labeled what I am or why is he so tough on film, they're capable of producing at a high level. Now, my main concern would be what do they do next week? Because the biggest issue has been they haven't been consistent. We know that Jalen Hurts can give you this type of performance, but why isn't it asked of him to do this more? He has DeVonta Smith. He has access to Saquon Barkley. He has A.J. Brown. And when you have a perfect passer rating, that's hard to do, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just letting you know, and I don't know if I ever did that. So let's just put that out there as well. The guy was out there dishing and distributing the football at a high level, but this is what stood out the most. It wasn't that he had a lot of passing yards, quote unquote, he was making his layups. He was making the, man, you can't miss this type of throw. And that was leading to other throws to feel comfortable with releasing of the football for Jalen Hurts. When you look at in the previous weeks, for Jalen Hurts, he was missing a lot of wide open receivers. That wasn't the case in Minnesota. But when you look at what Kevin Patullo is asking of Jalen Hurts, 1 week he'll throw for 23 times, the next week he'll throw for 35 times, the next week he'll just throw for 13 times. And I'm like, man, where's the consistency at? And that's what's been the biggest disheartening thing watching the Philadelphia Eagles, who has always been a favorite to win the Super Bowl this year, but sometimes they show you and sometimes they don't.
I would say this too. I thought yesterday they did a good job of not being as predictable on offense. There were a couple plays, particularly I'll point to the one with A.J. Brown, where the Minnesota Vikings brought an all-out blitz. Okay, and usually through the season, they would throw a little slant to A.J. Brown. They've been real predictable in doing those type of things. You know what they did? They said, no, we're not going to just throw a slant. We're going to throw a slant and go. We're going to throw a double move at you, okay, because the cornerback from the Minnesota Vikings was sitting there waiting. Yep. He was waiting on it, and then they had an answer for it. If you're Philadelphia, and it goes to what Cam talked about, you have the ability to do that every single week because you got two alphas on the outside. Ladies and gentlemen, I want people to understand. Do people understand that DeVonta Smith won a Heisman Trophy in college? Like, DeVonta Smith is like, he is perfectly capable of being like a number one receiver. And like, so when you have a DeVonta Smith or A.J. Brown on the outside, like, utilize those guys. Don't just try to dink and dunk. Those guys are some of the most explosive players that we have in our game, and we saw yesterday in a hostile environment on the road in Minnesota. They were absolutely, they were able to do that yesterday.
And I think that's why A.J. Brown had some of that frustration early on in the season, because he's like, hey, I'm here, DeVonta Smith is here, why are we not being utilized as much as we should be? But consistency continues to come up, Chris, when you talk about this Eagles offense. How do they find consistency?
Well, I think it starts with being able to produce and being able to have proof of concept. My coach, Tom Coughlin, used to always see this. Confidence comes from demonstrated performance. They went out there and they showed that they can get A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith going with the vertical passing game. That's going to create some more room for Jalen Hurts to operate underneath with Dallas Goedert, some of those receivers in the slot, and then hopefully unlock Saquon Barkley to some degree. But guys, we also need to talk about that defense coming to the party yesterday too.
Yeah.
Because they had 13 pressures, 8 quarterback hits, 2 sacks on Carson Wentz, and oh, by the way, the Philadelphia Eagles were able to score without having their offense on the field. Right? Jalen Hunt, pick 6 to the house. So I think that matters. The defense, which was dominant a year ago, has not been the same in year 2 with Vic Fangio. Now, Jalen Carter has been banged up. Some guys on the back end have had some issues, so we'll see what ends up happening moving forward. But that defense has also got to step up in a big way if the Philadelphia Eagles are going to get back to where they were last year.
Yeah, it feels like this team is trying to get back on track. We'll see. Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, I don't think that, you're wrong, Chris, but I think a lot of times the defense feeds off the offense. And yes, to Damian's point, you have a lot of alphas on the outside, but you also have a lot of alphas on the inside. I don't think nobody would question if Jalen Hurts is an alpha, because he is. I don't think Saquon Barkley is not an alpha, because he is. You don't even have a 1-2 combination, or you can't even look in with a straight face and say DeVonta Smith is your number 2 receiver. You can't definitely say that you're going to look at A.J. Brown as a number 2 receiver. So Jalen Hurts has access to 2 number 1 receivers. And we've been scratching our head to say, if you have 2 number 1 receivers, why are you getting the bare minimum from them? So I'm going to be extremely intrigued to see what they do as a follow-up, or as they said, or Jay-Z said it.